Also put some quick tips in the playlist. And so the last thing that you watched was quick tip number 3. But what happened in episode 5 was we finished our level 4 goals for our island, and now we're kind of stuck on the question, now what? How do I go about making an efficient island for a solo grind basically? And I forgot to lock my island. Give me 1 second. Okay. Anyways, on quick tips number 3, I mentioned basically like where a good spot would be to place your mine. And then I also gave you guys a nice little tip about the farms and how you could have exactly, or well, it's 98 crops per side, but that's basically 100, so it's just easy math. 100 there, 100 there. This is going to hold me over until I need more than 200 crops. But what I want to start on is the mine and how many ore gens or coal gens you should have ideally before you start working on buying other ones. Now there's 2 options to buy your ore gens. You can buy it with money or your mana. But the problem here and why I'm going to change the strategy a little bit is because of the ore gen delay that's happening right now. Now when you get an ore gen all the way to maxed out, it's like a 2 or 3 second delay, I believe, before the ore pops back up. So it's relatively quick. By the time you get from here all the way to the other side of year 50 and back, they're spawned again. But with the ore gen delay, they're taking a little bit longer. So I wouldn't say it's the most efficient to try and max out your first 5 ore gens right off of the bat. I would either go to 25 and then start leveling them up, or level up some of maybe favor 2 rows as I'm continuing to slap more coal gens in. And then you could either go to 50 coal gens and then just continue to upgrade only half of them until you feel like you're making enough to easily buy 10,000 ore gens or 10,000 mana ore gens for lapis. But what I generally like to do is skip the ores that you have to smelt. However, there is a smelting custom enchantment you can get for your pickaxe that will automatically smelt all of your ores into bars. Is there anything else? Oh, the only thing with the iron is I like to try and skip an origin as I go. So I go straight from coal to lapis and then from lapis right to emeralds. Sometimes I'll bring some diamonds in just to help me level up my island a little bit for my crops. But after I get to an ideal number of crops, I'm basically done with the diamond. I don't care for the diamond. I'm only worried about getting those emerald gens and getting them leveled up. But another thing to keep in mind is if you did max out with all 50 coal gens, by the time you get to island level 55, if you did max out with all your coal gens, and I'm not saying they are all level 4s, but if you went all coal gens and they were all level 3s or something, or you favored half, then if they're level 1, you would definitely want to replace the level 1s with the level 1 lapis gen. But if they're all level 4s and you have 50 maxed out coal gens or lapis going to emerald, whatever the case is, if you're upgrading and you have all maxed out ones, I would seriously just put 1 new ore gen in. So let's say I have maxed coal gens, I've made the upgrade to half of my maxed lapis gens, and now everything in my mine is maxed out. What I want to do is I want to start taking from the coal and I want to start putting in my emerald generators, and it's going to be more efficient to just leave the coal. Maybe not with the emerald itself, I haven't done the math completely, but I did find it easier to just go ahead and leave the coal and start slapping in my emerald gens. you know what? I'm lying. I did all coal, then I went to all lapis, and then I started working in the emerald. So we're gonna pretend we're all lapis origins. Now, they're all maxed. What I want to do is just fill it in with one at a time because that one's gonna take so long to regenerate. You want to still be able to hit the other 24 lapis gens that are spawning the ore. So after you max that one out, what I like to do is I like to move it straight to the back. And that just gives me another spot for my next emerald generator. And then it's just right up front, easy for me to upgrade. When they start getting further back, what happens is if I try to upgrade this one, I have to type in a command /upgrade, then I have to choose ore upgrade, and then I have to select this before an origin pops up from, or an ore pops up from this origin. So it can kind of be a hassle, and I like to just stick with keeping them up front. So obviously when we left off, you guys were island level 20-ish, maybe 25, but probably not much more than that. And if you guys are just flying through this playlist, then chances are you're still, 20, 25. But what I talked about with the farm was if you did it 7 deep, just like your structure around your mine, and you made it 14 wide, that would be 7 times 14, and that makes 98. But what also happens here is as I start to grow my crops and I get to that 2,000 mark, I have so many crops that they're not all going to grow around my mine as I'm mining. So we might as well take some early precaution, or I wouldn't say early precautions, but plan ahead. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plan accordingly to hold 2,000 watermelons or pumpkins. Now the watermelons is your last crop to grow, so you might as well build your farm to support those. But what I do here is if I make my farm 32 deep, now you guys aren't going to be able to do this right away with level 20 island, but as your expansion goes and you get to 32 deep, you're going to know, okay, that's plenty. And the reason why is if you do one full stack at 32, what happens is if I run down this with 32 melons, they're going to grow to this side. The melons are going to produce, and I'm going to mine them from here. We'll go ahead and go to the melon farm so you guys can see, but all I do is I plant melons in these two, and I go 32 deep, and what that does is it makes it so that this whole row, these 2 rows, is exactly 1 stack, and it's just a lot easier for me to place all my melons, knowing that I can just go start with a full stack, start here, run all the way down, and then run backwards all the way back, and boom, that's a full stack. Then I just bust out another fresh stack instead of having to send 4 more back or something. But what also happens here is if we go 32 deep and we do 1 stack, 2 stack, 3 stacks and a half, which is another 32 seeds, then you're at exactly 224. So again, if we go 1 full stack of seeds here, another full stack of seeds here, another full stack of seeds here, and a half stack of seeds here, what we have is 3.5 stacks of seeds, but we also have 225 crops. And as we start to accommodate more than 500 crops, all we have to do is bust up, well, I shouldn't say bust up, let's just say jump up 4 spaces, and this is where I don't have any dirt. Now this is up to you guys, but I only leave 2 spaces between my floors for my farms. Let's just go 100 dirt because I don't really need more than that. And then you just build your next floor right here. So, beginning, After quick tips number 3, we were at 98 crops per side. Now, before we get to the melons, we actually have 550 crops along the bottom as long as we're 36 deep. So we're 7 deep right now. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. So that's as far as our mine needs to go. Now, if you guys are like me and you want to get your farm going and placed as soon as possible, then if this is your center of your island and your radius is 20 blocks, you can build the other direction too, and just go 16 blocks from the center of your mine that direction, and 15 blocks that direction, or vice versa. So now that I've showed you guys what I like to do here, you'll see in another quick tip with my farm itself, talking about the size and how the crop numbers work. So since I was just mindlessly placing those blocks there, let me get back to actually maybe showing you guys something. But anyways, what we have is simply 225 plantable crops. But if we hoe up all of this, because we're not at melons yet, and we go 36 deep, then we actually have 550. It would be 548 crops we could hold on this first floor. The second floor would be another 548. But we still have this second side. So at this point, you guys have your mine, you have your farm, and the only other real source of mana would be a spawner. But look at all this room you have behind you. You could easily put a spawner over here, over here. I'm currently having a hard time with my spawners. What's going on is if I wanted to make 2 boxes, a spawner location right here, and a spawner location right here, what happens is one of the sections of spawners just doesn't work at all. So even if I had 10 maxed ones, I'd still only be producing 5 maxed spawners worth of blazes instead of 10 because they're split in half and only one section would work. But with that being said, I want to go over to the mine, not to the mine, but to the farms, and I want to show you guys what I'm talking about here. Now once you get your farm, again it's 14 wide and 36 deep. Once you guys get 14 wide, just start on one side. I like to start next to my building and dig up the first one, and then that's where your half stack's gonna go, and then the rest of it is full stacks, just like on the other side. Now, if you guys look here, this is where my mine used to be. It's 10 wide, and all I did was I put my crops facing that direction, but what happened is they stopped growing way too soon. So I ran into a slight issue, I guess, with my crops growing correctly. I had to make some floors before I really needed them. Alright, excuse the interruption on the whole clip change, but after that 13-minute, 45-second mark, I kind of fell apart. I wouldn't say fall apart, but it just didn't sound as good as I wanted it to. So anyways, what I was getting at with the spawner being where my old mine was is because when I started building taking my crops out this far, they weren't growing properly. So I had to go up a flight. But as I went up flights and got to the 3rd floor, my spawner, or my mine, while I was mining, the 3rd floor wasn't growing properly. About halfway down the 3rd floor, it stopped growing. And this isn't something to even worry about right now because the 1st floor on both sides of the tutorial section here, the 1st floors being 32 deep and 14 wide like they are, That's nearly 1,000 crops, and you'll unlock melons before you'll have to move up to the second floor. So you don't even need to worry about the second floor either. But the reason why the second floor is actually 3 blocks high instead of 2 is because this is where I'm going to put all my sea lanterns for my lighting. And I like to just basically light up every single row of seeds. So I use a lot of sea lanterns, but it's just for aesthetics basically. But that kind of wraps up what I was getting at with there. Again, you won't have to worry about it until after you've already unlocked melons and you need to start making more floors. But what happened is I moved my mine up to basically the 3rd floor of all the farms. So the farms are 5 floors tall, and that gives me way more crops than 2,000. But if I only go 4 tall, then I still have 200 crops to leave over or left over out of the 2,000. So four flights at 14 wide and 32 deep, once you unlock melons, will hold about 1,800 of your seeds. So there's no reason for the 5th one. I put it there so that I could continue growing, but I'm not going to. I'm going to save the 200 seeds that I can still plant out of the 2,000 and put it somewhere for decoration, basically. The server's going to reset, so it's going to take me a minute to get back in. So now that the server's back on, I'm going to go to my island just to finish the video. I'm going to go back up to the tutorial section just because. So what happened real fast before the server reset? 4 flights is all you need. That'll give you 1,800 crops. If you do 2 buildings, 1 on each side, they're the same exact size as the ones over here. But what you have to do is you have to raise your mine up to the 2nd floor. So all I do is I take it to the 3rd floor, and that gives me 2 floors below me. But it also gives me room to raise this ceiling and create my blaze farm later on. Then I'm mining directly on top of my blaze farm, and all my crops are growing. Now I think that's a great point to stop on, but the last thing I want to say is I'm going to upload 2 quick tips next. Number 4 and number 5 are going to be simply on origin strategies for how many you should get and when to upgrade and everything like that. But the first one is going to be mainly because we're so early in the season and it's kind of a solo grind right now. There's plenty of helpers out there, but they're all trying to upgrade their islands as well. So anyways, the 4th quick tip will be for early season origin upgrade strategies, and then quick tip number 5 will be more mid-season, late season, when people are actually feeling generous. Late season is just ridiculous. Like, people are giving things away, so we're not really going to talk about a different strategy during the late season or anything like that. This is Mindless Mantis. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you guys want to see more of this, go ahead and subscribe. If you guys have any questions or requests, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks. Wash your hands.